man. It's Thursday night again. How you guys doing? Listen to me. I feel like, when these episodes finish, I'm just anticipating next Thursday. And then Thursday hits and I'm just like, yes, another night where I get to spend time with you guys. First things first, my name is Karen Rose and I'm the host of The Digital Age. And I want to thank all of you for coming in and checking this episode tonight. You guys know the deal. You guys could be anywhere else in the world, but you guys are spending Thursday nights right here so that you guys can learn, so that you guys can take your businesses and brands to the next level in the digital age. So, as you guys are coming into the chat, let me know that you guys are inside. You guys know we need energy inside of this show. So let me know that you guys are inside. Let me know where you guys are from. I'm seeing people coming in. Christabel, first to comment. How are you doing tonight? How are you doing, Christabel? Thank you for being the first one to drop your comment. I'm waiting for everybody else. Everybody else, let me know where you guys are from. Are you guys watching from Trinidad? You guys watching from Grenada, St. Lucia, St. Kitts, Antigua, Jamaica? Are you from the UK? Are you in the US? Are you in Canada? Let me know in the comments. Let me know that you guys are inside. Listen, tonight is going to be a goodie. Alex, good night. How you doing? Azra, hello, Azra. Oh, Miss Lloyd, you're inside. Yes, I love it. Dominic, bro, I see you. How you doing? Miss Tamara, Mova's in the house. Yes, I love it. Terrell George, hey, look at that. We have Tobago in the house. Erneal Lord, good night. Christopher Williams, yes, how you doing? Ashton, good night. Listen, you guys, as you guys come in, let me know that you guys are here. So, we have a really, really, really good episode tonight, right? And I know you guys are probably sick of me saying that because I feel like every episode is a piece of the pie. And if you watch the entire season, everything is going to give you some nuggets to really push your brand along and build your business online. And we're doing it from different angles. And tonight is all about one of the most important, actually no, it is the most important piece of marketing in today's day and age, and that is content marketing, creating content. This topic has people running for the hills because when it comes time to putting yourself out there and showcasing your knowledge and expertise, listen, this is something that, again, many people just don't want to do. And the ones that do have the will to do it sometimes don't even know where to start. Do you post on social media? Do you make a blog? Do you need a website? You got to do a YouTube channel. Where do you even begin? We're going to be diving into that tonight. So our guest of honor tonight to lead this conversation. Listen, this girl does not need no introduction. She is one of my favorite content creators in the Caribbean. Multi-talented. And I'm so glad that I can call her my friend. So when I was deciding to do this, when I was thinking about content creation, she was a lock. I didn't even think about anybody else. She just knew that she was coming in for this episode. So tonight, let us give a warm welcome to Miss Ricqcolia Phillip. Hello. Hi, Ricolia.
Hello. Hi.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm great. Listen, with an intro like that, I will play that intro alone back every time I'm having a bad day. I love it. Thank you so much.
Listen, you know when you touch down, we gotta big you up. You just be doing your thing.
I'm trying.
And you're not trying, you're doing, and you've been doing for a long time at this point.
I appreciate it.
There was when we announced you. Go ahead.
No, just saying I'm actually really excited to get into this because you and I have countless conversations about this exact same topic. Well, conversations more like rants. So I'm really happy that we can actually get it out and get it to a wider audience.
Listen, and you know what? And I feel like this is gonna turn into like an inside look at like our daily sessions when we are talking about creating content and putting ourselves out there. I really feel like it's gonna turn into that. And to everybody's benefit
Definitely.
because you always have some amazing insights and a very unique perspective with how you go about creating content. All right.
Well,
So before we get started, to officially kick off the episode, we got to drop the intro. 1 second. Yes, Ricolia. Yes. So we can start. We can get this thing rolling. Listen, people are coming in. They're ready to hear what you have to say. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, nice. So, if this is your first time tuning into the Digital Age Show live, what we like to do when we are kicking off the episode is we like to tell you exactly what to kind of expect from the episode so you know what you guys are getting into. Hopefully, you stick around to the end because listen, there's going to be a lot of gems dropped tonight. So, we're going to take the first couple minutes of this episode getting to know Ricqcolia Phillip. You guys got to know why she is here talking to you. She's done a lot, and in the few years that I've known her, she has upped her game at every single level, all right? Then we're going to be getting into the topic of the night, creating content in the digital age. Again, this is the most important thing that anybody could be doing for their business and brand right now. If you want to build your name in the digital age, if you want to build the know, like, and trust factor, the only way to be doing that right now is by creating content. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts. You can no longer hide behind a logo. You can no longer hide behind a business catchy name or a tagline. It just doesn't work like that in the digital age. We want to know who you are. We want to know who is behind the brand. We want to know what you guys are about. We want to know if you guys have the knowledge and skill and the vision to solve the problems that we are usually going to service providers for. All right? And then lastly, we're going to be jumping into a Q&A session. So we're going to be taking your questions. So if you guys have questions, try your best to save it to the end because I want to get the conversation rolling. And that way at the end, we'll take as many questions as we can. And then we're going to go from there. All right. So Ricolia, let us get started. So the clock is up. The clock has started, and now I want let's let the world know who Ricolia is, right? So, but before we do that, I have something to show you. You didn't know this was going to happen, but I have something to show you, right? And it's to set the stage. So, Ricolia, we have a video to play. Hold on, Ricolia.
Hello, Loop TT fam. We're here today with Ricqcolia Phillip. She is the winner of the Face of Loop TT competition. Ricqcolia.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
We're awesome. Tell us a little bit about your journey throughout the competition and your expectations, nervousness. Give us some insight into your feelings.
Well, yeah, there was some news. I actually found out about the competition the day before the final audition. And listening to what the position would entail, I got very excited because I said, this is me. This is exactly what I would love to do. So I went down to the audition. And after that, you had to get as many friends and family to vote for your video. So you'd be shortlisted into the top 10. I have a lot of friends who I have nagged consistently for an entire week trying to get them to vote. Everybody had faith that I would at least be in the top 10. I knew that as well, but I just wanted to ensure that I was on top, you know, like America's Next Top Model, want to be on top. So, yeah, I ended up placing in 3rd place just before they closed off. And I got called in for an interview and still knew I could do it, you know, have to have confidence in yourself and all of that, but still that
Nerve
that, you know,
because
just
it could
to
go either way.
Exactly.
Yeah, it could go either way.
The other contestants, they were really good. So I was a bit nervous, and then I got the call, and I was told that I was the new face of Loop TT. And I I almost cried. I'll be honest with you. I had a bit of a.
So what was the reaction? What was the reaction when you got the call? You know, what did you do? Did you scream? Did you say what? What was the reaction?
I was in shock. I actually asked, is it April Fool's Day? In December, I really wasn't, I was in shock, basically. And I started to freak out internally. But really happy that I got through. I'm really, really, really excited to be a part of the Loop team. I have so many ideas that I would love to, just implement and, share with Loop, if you guys will have me. And yeah, I'm really excited for this new journey.
Well, I'd just like to officially say, welcome to the Loop TT family. Right? We have a lot of exciting things planned, and we're happy to have you on the team.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for your votes.
So Ricolia, I needed to set the stage. I needed to let people know where you started from. Tell us about you getting your start at Loop and that competition you had to go through.
Right. You actually took me down memory lane with that one. So Loop held a competition called the Face of Loop, and they were looking for persons who would be a roving reporter who'd be able to go around and cover literally any and everything around Trinidad and Tobago in terms of news, politics, entertainment, carnival, whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. And I actually submitted my video towards the end of the competition. Thought I wasn't going to get through with this. I was like, I tried. And right. I actually got an email actually telling me that I did not get through, but, thank you for your submission. So I essentially got a Steve Harvey at Miss America moment where it's like, psych, you actually didn't get through. The email was sent error. I won, and I came in, and I had to do that, mini interview / introduction as the Face of Loop. And it took off from there because it went from me just being the face and representing to me really developing my skills as a journalist, and not just someone that writes, but also presents and hosts and creates and publishes and everything under the sun. So it was a real trial by fire, but I would not trade that experience for anything. It really helped, in my opinion, it really helped develop my career. It prepared me for so many different things, and it also sort of shaped, my vision for also always creating content. I'm always like thinking about ideas for different things, and it's sort of like the ideas are there, and it's like I wish I had clones to just get everything done. So yeah. How did you
prep for that competition?
To say that I prepped, it's difficult to say how I prepped. Mm-hmm. The thing is, I knew going in that I had to sell myself. So I just highlighted, everything about me that would make me the best fit for working at Loop and being the face of Loop. So coming at the beginning of, the whole Loop phase, I actually was the host of a YouTube channel called Ricolia's Top 5, and it was these video commentary, social commentary on all of these things that we all discuss and talk about as Trimbagonians. Right. So I think that helped put me in a good light because they could have seen how I perform on camera. I became natural on camera, and I essentially brought that out for the entry video. So and I guess that's what they like that. And, it took me to the next phase for the actual interview. And again, I brought my personality, and that's what they wanted. So, yeah.
That's dope. What would you feel, now that you have moved on from Loop, what would you say are some of the key attributes, the key skills that you learned from your time as a journalist at Loop? And how has that helped you turn into the content creator that you are today?
One is adaptability. I mean, outside of the content is adaptability, because Loop is or was the first digital news platform in Trinidad and Tobago, and then spanning into the wider Caribbean. We really disrupted the game. I say we as if I'm still there. They.
Yeah.
It really was very revolutionary at the time. And no one really took us seriously at that point in time. And we had to do so much to not just put ourselves on the map, but also to ensure that we were putting out quality and original content. So, and the landscape, the digital landscape was very new and fresh. So even though we had an idea of what we were doing, at the same time, it was the first time it was being done in Trinidad and Tobago.
Right.
So we had to always be on the pulse. We always had to, we had to be ready to pivot and, be where the audience is and give them the news that they want and they need,
Right.
So adaptability is definitely it. Another one is something that my mentor, Laura Darch Phillips, always told me is there's a story everywhere. So we learned after a while, yes, you have your traditional news, the typical crime, politics,
Right.
those are always stories, but,
Right.
sometimes you have to go beyond what everybody else is reporting. And, you tend to find nuggets of and a wealth of content and stories to be told. And that's something that I'm very proud of that, I was able to do. We were able to unearth so many features and leads and all of that telling the stories of Trinidad and Tobago. So, and people always, from people on the outside were always telling us, people, competitors want to know what we're doing, how just we're doing what we're doing and that sort of thing. And that is just a good sign. It means that we're doing something right and they want to, mimic that. So,
Correct.
yeah.
And one of the things that, from since I've known you back in like 2016, I think one of the things that have always stood out was that even though Loop had pushed a lot of news content, your content was never newsy. There was always an angle. There was always a story. What was it? What was it like? I mean, being in a more, I guess, news environment from the outside looking in, being that person that kind of shied away from creating, again, just on the beat news and always trying to find a story and putting it out there. Because I mean, you didn't always see it from the rest, but I feel like your content was just always different. There was always a story. There was always something more than just news.
Right. Well, the team, in addition to me, we had other people on the content team that had specialties.
Right.
So in my first year or two working at Loop, like I said, I covered everything. It wasn't unusual for me to, have an interview with the CEO of Massey and then the very next day do an interview with, someone in the carnival sphere, or, go to do Fed coverage or whatever. But after time went by, I started to have more of an affinity for entertainment and lifestyle. I started to gravitate in that direction. And I just started to, just based on just looking around and seeing like what's happening, I'm like, oh, that's a story that writes about it.
Right.
And it was, again, it's not, and at that point in time, it wasn't something that no one else was doing. I mean, entertainment stories, everybody writes entertainment stories,
Right.
but it kind of, the more I did it, the more I realized there are more angles to this than just saying Marshall performed at this event. There could be something further where you find out that, the person that designed his set also happened to design the set for Beyonce at Coachella. Random.
Right,
That didn't happen.
right.
That's not a real story. But you always find something beyond the surface, beyond what is the initial story. And the more you dig, and it's just, I guess me personally, I just like to find more, like to find beyond what is the typical.
Right.
And it really was, again, like a badge of pride, I think, for myself as well as everyone on the content team when, we broke certain stories, we broke certain angles, especially when we were there alongside our or competitors at the same events or the same whatever, and we were able to get different angles on something or story beyond what was, I guess, being highlighted at that point in time.
Right.
And the more I started to do that, the more I started to notice that there are a lot of content gaps, beyond news, So I personally wanted to see more of it, and then as someone that consumes a lot of lifestyle content, most international lifestyle content, like it made me realize more and more how, I'm always seeing these kind of stories, but I don't see it from a local perspective, So, yeah.
Beautiful. And before we move on into the meat of tonight's episode, I have one more thing to show the audience about the Ricqcolia Phillip we have grown to love. And that is this. Talk to us about last year, 2019, where you won the award for best content piece, and how did you feel winning that? Walk us through that.
Well, it was the CTO, or the Caribbean Tourism Organization. They hold their annual media awards, and I was encouraged again by my mentor to enter, because she's like, you always see the same people going up for these awards, and the same people always end up winning. And she meant, essentially, you see people from the outside who are coming in, who are being assigned to write stories on us.
Right.
You don't see as much locals, meaning people from Trinidad and Tobago, people from the wider region, winning these awards. So I submitted a story that I did. I did a feature on Uber Soca Cruise.
Yes.
I went in 2018. I went alone, and I went alone, not knowing what to expect. But it was at the time that Uber Soca, at that point in time, Uber Soca was growing in popularity, and I was like, let me see what this is about. I had a good relationship with, their marketing and PR. They invited me to go. I had a fantastic time. I love seeing everyone's, excitement and just like awe, because it was literal nonstop, like fest after fest after fest. It was an unbelievable experience, and I wrote about it, and I submitted that, and I was nominated.
Mm-hmm.
With the nomination, it meant that I had to go to New York for the awards.
Wow.
All of this is happening like on a step-by-step basis. It's like, all right, submit, get an email. Hi, you were nominated. Okay, that's amazing, but
Right.
still not thinking anything of it, because it's amazing to even be acknowledged in the
right.
first place. Yeah. So went to New York, excited about everything, but for me it was a matter of I wanted to go to also network with, like-minded people as well. I thought it would be a really great opportunity to meet others like myself. At the same time, I thought there are other people who've been doing this much longer than me. When I looked at the competitors, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to win this award.
Right.
But it's still great to be, it's still, a great opportunity to be in that space. Like, I think that you can find opportunities everywhere. So win, lose, or draw, it's a good good opportunity for me.
Right.
And they came to my category. They announced all of the nominees, including myself, and I was already like looking around to see the other people, and I guess like waiting to see them get up as their name was being announced. And then I heard my name from this faraway place saying that I won. I wasn't expecting it at all. I know everyone says that when they win awards. I'm telling you, I had no idea that I was going to win. I really, I guess, I underestimated the power of the feature. And yeah, like it for me, it really sort of solidified something that I am good at what I do, and I think it's something that we all do every so often, no matter what field we're in. We always second guess ourselves. We're like, yeah, I know I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Yeah, I know I did this. Yeah, I know I did that. But I'm just not as great as ... So I shouldn't say that I needed an award to get that validation, but it really did a lot. It really sort of, I guess, solidified for me that this is what I'm meant to do. Even if, I move on from Loop at some point in time, I move on to another company, if I open my own company, whatever the case may be, this is what I'm meant to do, and that is creating content.
I love
So
it.
yeah.
I love it. Lastly, what would you say is the one key difference between the Ricolia that entered that competition at Loop and the Ricolia who won the award with the CTO?
I think it was just a bit more confidence in self and being able to, I don't want to say demand, I'm not the kind of person that demands, but it's sort of a notch in my belt and a notch in like my portfolio that sort of elevated it to a different level. And it's weird because I felt like it did that for my portfolio, but at the same time, like, yeah, I did that. When people congratulate me, I'm like, I won. I can't believe I did that,
Yeah.
But, but yeah, I think that it also helped it matured me in a way. I don't know if that made any sense, but it also kind of it kind of made me realize, okay, well, this happened, so you need to do more. It can't be a matter of you won this award and then you just go back to doing nothing,
Right.
in your personal life, anything like that. You need to do more. You need to keep pushing more and taking things to another level.
Perfect. I love it. So, Ricolia, we are going to take a very quick break. We got to know you from where you started and where you hit your biggest milestone. And I just wanted people just to get to know you a bit because we're going to be diving into the meat of this segment, which is creating content in the digital age. We have a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss, a lot of tips, strategies, tools, you name it. And if you are live in this audience tonight, let me know. Drop some fireworks, drop some 100s. Let me know that you guys are here, and I hope you guys are ready. We're going to take a quick break, thank the sponsors, and we're going to come right back, and we're going to get into creating content in the digital age with the award-winning Ricqcolia Phillip. We'll be right back.
Stay connected and entertained with broadband bundles designed for you. With Flow starter and advanced plans, you can enjoy faster speeds to stream more of what you love. Get free access to the best shows, series, and movies with HBO Go. And connectivity on the go with free Flow Wi-Fi. Packages start from as low as $295 and no contract required. Visit discoverflow.co to sign up today. Flow, keeping you connected.
Sharing your goals, helping you find your place in the world. Eastern gratitude, holding your hand, leading the way, here for your needs, making sure that you succeed. Eastern's lending a hand, Eastern together, we're leading the way. Eastern Credit Union, leading the way.
Ricolia, we are back. I hope you guys are ready. I hope you guys have the pens and paper. I hope you guys have your drinks. This is where we're going to start to drop all of the gems, all right? So, Ricolia, you ready? You ready to get started?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do this. So, first things first, let us start with one of the most crucial things, and it's probably the area where people struggle the most. They get a headache. They have cold sweats. It is the one of the hardest things when getting started out, and that is picking your mediums.
Right.
Do we do video? Do we podcast? Do we blog? I'm sure people come to you all the time and ask you about, how you got started. And when you make suggestions to them, well, why don't you try video? It's like, I don't like video. Then you're like, okay, well, write a blog. And you're like, I can't write. And then you're like, okay, well, you could podcast. And they're like, I hate the sound of my book. They have every excuse.
Every excuse in the book to not do it.
Every excuse in the book. So let's get started, right? So from your experience, how did you decide on picking your medium? What was the thought process that went into picking your medium when you got started out creating content?
It depends. What are we talking about? My current blog, when I started my YouTube channel.
No, from the beginning, when you started to first put yourself out there, how did you decide on the medium to put yourself at? To put yourself
Well,
out
when
there?
when I started my YouTube channel, the message that we wanted to get out would have been better suited for video. And it was at a time as well when social commentary is nowhere where it is, now. Of course, it's on another level, but not many people were doing it back then. So in the joint partnership with my friend, we decided that, again, based on my personality, video would have been the best way to go. Beyond that, the more I started doing content for work, as in my day-to-day job, it was never questioned that a website was what you had to have.
Right.
Something that housed all of your content. So whether you want to have your podcast, or you want to do a YouTube, or if you want to decide you want to do keep stuff on IGTV and Facebook and all of that, like, the website should be the hub for everything, or having some kind of space digitally that houses your stuff. And I don't mean social media. I know we can get into that later, but I would say choosing your medium depends on what your end goal is, who you want to talk to. And I want to say who you want to talk to as in knowing who your market is, knowing who your target market is. I'm not saying you have to necessarily go into the nitty-gritty like right now, but if it is, for example, that you like food, you want to put out food content, and food in itself is a very visual item. So one of the best things to do, in addition to having recipes, would also be having videos as well, to see how it's being made.
Right.
So it's a bit of thought that goes into, what type of medium that you want to use, but you have to also think about who are you talking to. It shouldn't just be a mass of, all right, well, everyone's doing podcasts, I'm just going to do a podcast. Everyone
Just
has
for the sake of.
Yeah. So it's the equivalent to me of, throwing something at the wall and hoping that it sticks.
Right. How much, go ahead, continue.
I was just going to say, I think that is why a lot of people get frustrated and start and stop, because they're doing what everyone is doing. They're seeing what other people are doing successfully, and they're like, why am I not getting this done? And then they stop. So.
Yeah. So when you were starting out, right? You started out with video. Now, for me, video was not something I wanted to do, especially when I started out, because my personality, I'm very laid back. I don't like the spotlight. I don't like being on camera. And when I was told, again, video is the most persuasive platform, video is where you really, really shine, I was like, but that's not me. I do not want to be in front of the camera. So blogging worked for me because I could still put out content consistently until I got to a place where I was comfortable. But what helped me, or I guess my biggest challenge with video, and my challenge with blogging too, but to a lesser extent, was finding your voice. When you started out, did you feel like you had it from the jump, where you knew your voice, you knew how you wanted your content to come out? Or was it something that you kind of had to think about, well, how do I want to talk? How do I want to show myself when I'm doing my content? Talk to us.
So I was lucky enough, in between the start, duration, and end of my YouTube channel transitioning into Loop, I was lucky enough to be given the opportunity to be myself. So the whole purpose of getting the YouTube channel off the ground was my personality. I was told that I had personality for video, and very specifically to get these particular videos, or videos of people on the team, and has been actually connected through work and people on the team, and that helped me as well, being the face of Loop. My personality, came forward, they wanted me to be, larger than life and, be conversational and be, relatable and easy to get along with and all of that. But it helped as well. So when I had to do interviews, you learn not everyone interviews the same way. Right. So you have to, at some point in time, bring yourself into it and break that barrier down of, I am this reporter from, from this news agency, and I need you to give me these answers. Say, yeah, so, tell me what's going on with you. Tell me,
Right.
Why you're here, what is this we're talking about, blah, blah, blah. And it helps to kind of break the ice, and people are more willing to talk to you. Right. So I would say that finding your voice is finding you. That might sound a bit, super, out there, right. I guess, esoteric, but I think people try to run down trying to be like everyone else, not realizing that the everyone else, the reason why they are who they are is because they're themselves. And I think it's something that has been said on multiple occasions, be yourself. And I know it's difficult for some people to do that. They're like, well, I don't know who I am, but play up on your strengths. There is something unique about you, and you have a voice, whether it's a vocal voice, whether it's how you write, whether it's how you you present on video, whether it's no matter what it is, you have something that is unique to you, and that is what people are drawn to. So you, for example, you were very hesitant to do video. You forced it for a very long time, and you were one of those who put all these blocks as to why you couldn't. and and look at what you're doing right now, because you are offering something that not everyone else is, especially in a very niche area. And people don't care about, well, he looks this particular way, he sounds that way, and they don't care about that. You're giving them what they need. You're solving a problem for them, and that is all they care about. All the niceties, all of like the having perfect makeup and hair and skin and all that will come after the fact. And just as a quick, insert, I think something like the current situation that we're in right now with the global pandemic, that has really proven that point. With the increase in platforms like these, people are starving for real content. Yes, they want the frivolous, crap to take their minds off of what's happening in the world and that sort of thing. But they want things that, can help solve a problem, and things that can stay with them and provide value for them. And when you take away, the big studios and the big productions and all of that, when you scrape all of that away, what will remain is the quality content. So, yeah.
Agreed. And for people listening, what was hard for me starting out, especially with video, was I was doing tech content. And you're watching a million YouTube videos, you're seeing all the tech people, and everybody kind of had a similar style. And I felt like if I'm doing tech content, I had to kind of fit that style. And it wasn't until a tech YouTuber by the name of Flossie Carter. It wasn't until I started to see him do his content. Now, Flossie is from New York, so he has a heavy, heavy New York accent. Flossie's bald, beard, tattooed, fitted, and he just talks however he wants to talk. And when I seen his content, and then I started to see him at events, and he's shaking the hand of the Google CEO. He's shaking the hands of the Samsung CEO, and he's in every event and one of the most respected tech bloggers. I seen him and I was like, wait a minute. If he could do tech content in this real, just urban, down-to-earth, don't care style, and still make it to the highest levels in the tech space, then I could be me. I could talk how I want to talk. I could show up how I want to show up. He gave me the permission, because when I look back into my first videos, I sounded like every other nerdy tech, whatever you think a tech person sounds like, I sounded like that. And it wasn't until I heard him and I'm like, wait a minute, I could show off my tattoos, I could talk, So finding that voice and playing up to your strengths, as Ricqcolia said, is huge, because that's really what's going to ultimately separate you from anybody else, right? Ricolia. So you now have Ricolia.com, and you have now shifted to blogging. So talk to us about getting started in the world of blogging. How did you, what made you decide to go down that road? Because you had started off with video content. What made you decide to start off blogging with Ricolia.com?
Right. So, as I mentioned earlier, during my time at Loop, even though I was putting out content, I still noticed that there was a bit of a gap in lifestyle content. And I don't necessarily mean in terms of like news, but just lifestyle content that spoke to me, you know? And I was sort of motivated to create that space. So I started it in 2018, and at the time, admittedly, the vision that I had at that point in time was not very feasible, because the idea was it's the same tagline that I had then, it's the same tagline now, which is celebrating Trimbago excellence. But at that point in time, when I first started out, the goal was to really create features, news, updates, and everything under the sun that focused on Trinidad and Tobago content. That is a mammoth undertaking.
Right.
And I started doing that while I was still at Loop, but also realizing that, well, in retrospect, realizing that creating content within a news organization with, you know, tools and a team is completely different to trying to start your own platform and your own blog on your own.
Right.
And what started to happen was that I had a lot of what I call false starts. So I was putting out the content, but it wasn't as consistent as I would like it to be, because I was still working at Loop, and that in itself was taking up a lot of my time, physically, mentally, and I didn't have as much creative space to put out for my blog.
Right.
And then after it became a challenge, because sometimes outside of like, there's certain stories that you will come across that are similar, but then you have to try and create a different angle. That becomes very taxing after a while.
Right.
But in retrospect, what I was doing was I essentially was trying to be everything for everyone with Riccolia.com.
Right.
I did target market in place. I didn't have a very specific niche that I wanted to focus on. I just knew that I wanted to do lifestyle content that celebrated Trimbago excellence.
Right.
That could be anything.
Right.
So,
really and truly, yeah.
Yeah. So I took a bit of a break, because in between stepping down from Loop, moving into my new position at the Tobago Tourism Agency, and then just the world catching on fire, I had to take a mental break. I took a step back from contributing and writing for Ricolia.com, because first of all, the content wasn't consistent, which meant that people weren't finding me. Right. So that's something I think a lot of people do. A mistake people make. They make content. They expect that one piece of content, those one or two pieces of content, to, you know, do everything. And when it doesn't, you know, happen the way they like it to, again, they stop. Yeah. So in order to build a platform and in order to build a brand, you really need to put out consistent content. And I know it's a very cliche thing to say at this point in time, but it's something that I realized firsthand.
Important.
So if I put out one or two articles, it would do well, but then I wasn't getting anyone who was buying it. No one was subscribing, because the content wasn't there. Right. So I took a step back, and then I started to really think about, what do you really want to put out, and who do you really want to talk to? What are your strongest points? Right. I love writing features. I love writing stories that are tailored for us as in Trimbagonians. Again, because I read a lot of lifestyle features and magazines and all of that, I realized that you'd always read certain things abroad, certain like let's say women's magazines, and the features are interesting, yes, but then you always have to sort of fit your own Trimbigonian or Trini experience to match, to kind of relate to what they're talking about,
Right.
because they're speaking within a very specific context and they're
Yes.
living in a very specific, world that is not ours. So I
Correct.
was like, why is it we don't have that? I'm not saying that it doesn't exist at all. I know that there are, you have women's inserts, women's magazines and all of that. But I kind of went a bit deeper and I'm like, but I want to create something that spoke to me as a millennial woman. So things that spoke to mental health, things that spoke to career and finance and entrepreneurship, things that spoke to, diet and exercise, beauty, relationships, travel, that sort of thing. And all those topics that I just spoke about, you don't really see platforms like that here that speaks to us. You may find one or two articles across. You may find more Caribbean platforms like that, but you don't have anything that really speaks to us.
Right.
So I was like, well, that's it. Let me at least try to do my part to fill that gap. And I started to put things in place to, create content that someone like me could read it and relate to it immediately. And not have to think, all right, well, this American author was speaking from her perspective living in this particular area, but I don't live there, so I can't really relate, but I kind of could, So that is what motivated me to pivot with Ricolia.com and to keep going forward. And it's funny, I have older articles I would have written at the beginning of Ricolia.com, and I was considering removing them because they're too general. They were just, like I said, just general content. I was like, you know what? No, you need to keep these things as a reminder of growth and where you are going and where you came from, where you are, and where you're planning to go. So there's still older content there. I'm sure anyone who goes on the blog right now will see certain gaps in dates. But I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, it's quality, and there's certain things that would still apply. For example, I have a piece on skincare products. I think the post is called 5 skincare products for you to indulge yourself. And they were all local products.
Yeah.
That article was done in 2018. And according to my analytics, it's still like either second or third ranked article or feature on my blog. And it's 2 years old.
Wow.
Today, which tells me that people want more information, more content about skincare. And in between when that article was written in 2018 and now, there's been an explosion of life and skincare, local skincare and beauty products that have come into the market.
Correct.
So it's bringing this kind of stuff to people because I think we underestimate as well that people know. And just because things are out there doesn't mean that everyone knows. You need to give the content and bring it to them.
So you bring up a very big point that I want to get into is why is it so important for us to create content on our own platforms? Let us dissect that because we see everybody creating content for social media and it lives and dies there. But why is it so important for us to create content and house it on our platforms?
I'm going to answer that question by countering with a question of my own. What would to happen if you were to house all of your content on Instagram and Facebook alone and your account gets hacked and your account gets deactivated? What happens to your content?
Do I even exist still?
Exactly. So this is why, I say that it's so important to have a website. Even if let's say you are primarily like a YouTuber or something like that, it's good to have something because that's your house, that's your home, that houses everything. I was using an analogy with you yesterday about how your website is your home and your social media is your car. Everything you put on social media is supposed to drive traffic and supposed to drive you to your home, which is your website. Your car could break down. Your car can get stolen. I'm using again the car and social media as one. Anything can happen to your social media, and this happens all the time, you know.
Yes.
But you still have the core content which is on your website.
Yes.
If your Instagram gets hacked, you can create another one and you can tell people, hey, I have a new account, but still make sure and subscribe to my channel,
Yeah.
where whatever it is, right? So I think what happens is that social media, given how social media has completely exploded over the last few years, I think there has been a shift because there was a point in time where everyone had a blog. Like
Yeah.
blogging was,
That was the
if you
thing.
weren't a blog, you weren't anybody.
Yeah. That was the
So,
thing. Before
but
social media, everybody
as
had a blog. Yeah.
right, with the rise of social media and with the oncoming of a new platform almost every day, and these platforms trending, so it's the Snapchats and the TikToks of the day, people tend to focus more on the social and focus on the immediate gains that they get from social, which is going viral, which is not as easy as people think it is. Getting these large follower numbers, getting these huge numbers on views and comments and all of that, and they think that's it. They think, all right, well, that's all I need to do. I have 5,000 followers, I have 10,000, 20, 50, 600,000 followers, and I'm an Instagram celebrity, so I don't need to do anything else outside of that. But as you said, it's like there is a short lifespan with this stuff, and because social media, a lot of social media platforms, I'm taking YouTube off of the table, like taking that out of the conversation for a second, because these platforms aren't indexable. You can't search for content on these platforms the way you
Facebook,
can on Google,
Instagram,
the way
Snapchat.
you can on YouTube. Yes, your video may go viral, and you may, especially if you use the right hashtag and if you have a particular influencer with you, but then this time next year, are you guaranteed that that video is still going to have the same impact? Is it going to have the same weight with people? Is it going to be relevant this time next year? So I'm not telling people that they should not do stuff on social media. I'm saying that everything you do on social media is ultimately meant to complement whatever you're putting out on your website.
Exactly, because you know what? You see, the thing with creating content on your platforms, like your website, your YouTube channel, those are search engines, right? And they're indexable. Anytime, think about your own habits, right? Anytime you have a problem, what do? You Google it, you go on Bing, you YouTube it, and we are able to get the answers. That is what a search engine does. It indexes content put out there, and that way when you as a search inquirer have a question, it knows, once indexed correctly, it knows what content to feed you. Social media does not work like that. Social media will give you attention for a limited amount of time, but everybody does this, right? You ever just see somebody like your pictures and they like a picture from like 2 months ago and you're like, wow, why did this person go so far down in my feed to like a picture? Like, it's weird, right? We don't typically go on social media and look for old pieces of content. However, happens every single day where you have a problem and you Google it, and if a blog post or video comes up and it is even if it's 2 years old, if that is the solution to solve the problem that you are having, you're going to run with that, right? And that is why it is imperative that you start focusing on building your platforms, because you see the entertaining content that gives you a high, and then you forget about it. But as Ricolia said, with her skincare blog, you have people that are still pulling up that blog 2 years later because it's still relevant, right? One thing that's good.
It's easier as well to leverage your blog, leverage your website, leverage that platform to gain more leads. So if you, let's say, are a blogger, you can actually use your blog as leverage for partnerships. So letting people know, all right, well, my blog or my site or my whatever pulls in X amount of monthly visitors and, twice as much in unique users. And this is the retention rate. This is how long they stay on my site. They return every single time. You can use that. And it's also showing potential partners that you have quality stuff to put out. And if it is they house their products or their services on your website, it means that they're investing in you. So
Correct.
there's so many ways that you can
Monetize.
leverage leverage your blog, your website, and this is across the board. It doesn't necessarily have to be lifestyle like me. There's so many ways to get at this.
There's
And I
plenty.
realized that a lot of outside of, let's say, the news agencies, like the digital news agencies, you don't see a lot of smaller businesses and smaller bloggers doing that. So,
Correct. Correct. And one of the things that you keep seeing a lot of people talking about is they can't wait to get to a certain amount of followers on social media to begin monetizing. And that has always been insane to me because I'm like, I was monetizing from Droid Island from almost day one because I was blogging and educating on products, and I was selling the products. That is monetization. I was never going to wait to get 10,000 followers on social media so that I could turn on monetization or beg, because one of the things that I see a lot of people doing is they're begging these platforms to allow the monetization features to be accessible in the Caribbean. You don't need that to monetize. There's a million ways to monetize. And then you make all the money on your own platforms in your own ways.
And I think what happens too is that a lot of us see what other people on the outside are doing. And yes, there may be limitations and restrictions to what is accessible to us here in the Caribbean. But outside of thinking, all right, well, we don't have that, so I can't make money, try and think about, all right, well, how else can I get at this? There are ways around it. And Google is my best friend.
Yes, it
Girl.
is.
Yeah, certain things. It's just a matter of, obviously doing your research and seeing what works for you. And I do recognize and I do appreciate that in certain cases, some of the information isn't readily available. And that's why people like you are around to, show people, hey, you can make money in the Caribbean. You don't necessarily have to have a U.S. account or a U.S. IP address, to access certain things. It takes a little bit of work. It's not going to happen overnight. But I think we need to move away from the instant gratification that we get from social media and just buckle down, put in the work, and you will see the returns.
That's a big fact. And when we talk about how one of the pitfalls for us here in the Caribbean is that we are constantly looking at the U.S. and how they are approaching everything, life, and their problems, and looking at their solutions. Then we complain that we don't have those solutions here, but we also don't have the same problems, right? So another block that people have when it comes to creating content is if they're gonna start blogging about fashion or technology, whatever, you have a lot of people that say, you know what, I can't do it because there's already too many people doing it. But then when you ask them, well, who is doing it? They name all of the US people, right? And they act like that is our market, So how do you feel about that when people come to you and they tell you, Ricolia, no, I can't do it because there's too many, but then you realize that all they're doing is looking at the people in the US market?
Well, that is what contributes to the problem, because it's not like it's a new thing. It's something that has been sort of instilled in us for years. We're using the term US generally, but this can mean anybody or anywhere abroad, where we got everything from abroad. We got our solutions from abroad. We got our style, a lot of things from abroad influence what we do down here. So it's kind of almost second nature for us to just look to see what everybody else is, what they're doing, and then say, oh yeah, these things exist. And I think that we without even realizing it, we are contributing to the problem of there being a content gap. And like I said,
right,
the assumption that people know, so what's the point of putting out certain things?
Right.
I realized just using, let's say, mental health or conversations around mental health as an example, I realized that I've had so many conversations with so many different people, male, female, my age, younger, older, who are all dealing with various elemental aspects of mental health, or having mental health issues, whether it be depression, anxiety, whatever the case may be. But you don't see as much content being put out for people to feel as if they can relate to it.
Right.
It's a very relatively recent thing where you're seeing, various organizations that are coming out and trying to, change that mindset. Because a lot of us, when we hear mental health, we immediately think about, being taken to St. Anne's. There's still a lot of stigmatization around it. So I always say, start small. Like, there's so many little things around us that we take for granted, and we assume that nobody else knows. We assume that we're the only ones going through it. But if you can just take that one small thing and say, you know what, I'm not seeing anyone talking about X, Y, and Z. I realize that no one is taking certain things from this particular angle. You have an in right there, because you're providing something no one else is talking about. And coming back to you again, you did exactly that. Before you started putting out your content, most of us would get our information about whatever's the latest phone from gsmarina.com. And instead, the multitude of other tech content creators out there. But you did something like that, and you took it a step further, and you highlighted, hey guys, so you do know that there are other phones that exist outside of Samsung and iPhone, right? And you really started to break down, everything related to using phones, and how certain phones work, and why you should get a particular device based on your needs, this, and how certain features that Samsung really likes to play up are not even really used down here in Trinidad and Tobago. So why are you really buying this device? You really offered something that was different, even though it was content that everyone around the world is talking about and is involved in. I always say, just put a Trini slanted. There's a wealth of stuff out there that people are not taking advantage of.
Yes.
And again, this is beyond lifestyle. This is beyond news. This is beyond tech content. I think if everyone were just to take a step back in any sphere, any industry that they're in, and try to paint a picture in, all right, well, whatever service I'm offering, how is it different? How is the solutions that I'm offering different to my competitors? How am I providing things a bit differently, and not broad brushing it and saying, well, I'm just, offering and, selling microwaves. Yes, I'm selling microwaves, but these particular microwaves, work in this particular region of San Fernando in a way that it wouldn't in any other region in Trinidad and Tobago. That's how you have to approach it.
And that's the thing. Like, we don't think about context from a contextual standpoint. So my whole thing is, when I create content, as much as I consume content from everywhere in the world, I'm always looking at it, how is it relevant to us here? And if I want to take a method of doing something from somebody in the UK, what services, what companies, what do I need? What is the process that I would have to do it here? And I would always talk about from our perspective, because one of the things that I keep on seeing is the majority of people that create content in Trinidad and the Caribbean create generic content for everybody to consume, but you're not differentiating yourself. You are literally putting yourself in the same kettle of fish as everybody else in every other market. If you want to stand out, create contextual content. Talk about the things that are happening within your space, within your region, within your country. Deliver that, and you will be the go-to source for those particular things in your space. So, Ricolia, what I want to let people know, I like to give people some sauce. I like people to leave with some tangible things, right? What are some of your go-to tools for you when you are creating content? Think about, whether when it comes to blogging, talk about what platform you use. If you are, creating graphics, you could talk about some of your favorite tools. What are some of your go-to tools for you to really create the content that you do?
Well, I read a lot of blogs. So I have this one tool I call called Feedly. So essentially, it's sort of like an RS tool or subscription. So it allows you to essentially get a feed of all of your favorite blogs, platforms, news sites, or whatever the case may be. So that's how I'm kind of tuned into what's happening all the time, whether it's local, regional, international news and headlines. I I I personally like to follow blogs like xandnicole.com. She is hands down my favorite blogs to follow. And for context, she created a space, and this is what I mean by creating content that is specific to your market. She created a space for Black American women. So all of her content speaks specifically to that market, and they feel that sense of identity and community. So she has a lot of, articles and features that I enjoy reading, but I don't see them here. I'm like, these are things that are also very relevant to me as a millennial woman, but we don't have these kind of conversations. So, I look to her every so often, for inspiration, you can say.
So she's in your Feedly. She's in your Feedly.
She's in my Feedly.
Nice.
So Essence, Blavity, Travel Noir. There is Jeff Bullis. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. So he focuses on how to do proper content marketing. So that goes whether it's blogging or if you have a business or whatever the case may be. Some tools that I use, one that I recently discovered that was recommended to me is ClickUp. And it's a sort of like all-in-one management tool that allows you to, if you're doing like project management and you have like a million things that you're trying to get done, you can essentially house everything and have like a bird's eye view of things that you have to do, things that are in progress, things that have been completed, things that have been approved. You can hold all of your documents there. You can converse, I guess, with other team members if you have a business. But essentially, I would say it's a project management tool. And it's a great way to kind of keep on top of everything that you have to get done. It keeps you very organized as well. I like Slack. It's something that it's a fantastic workplace communication tool. I started using it when I was at Loop, but you can, if you don't have a business, you have a personal account, you can use that. It's essentially a great way to communicate with your team. So I would kind of liken it somewhat to WhatsApp, but I'm using that very lightly because it's nowhere in the level of WhatsApp. So again, you can converse with your team members. You can create different channels depending on how large or small your organization is. So if you have an organization of, let's say, 10 people, but you have 2 of them who are working on one very specific assignment, you can create a channel for just the 2 of them, and they can converse, and it wouldn't disturb everyone else. I like to use Hootsuite for scheduling and analytics personally, as well as Buffer. And I'm actually looking into Later, that is a scheduling and analytics tool for Instagram. Right. So like MailChimp for email marketing, as well as Facebook Analytics, Google Analytics, and Google Search Console. So most people know about Google Analytics, which is great because it gives you, again, an idea of how different pages, different articles, and all of that performed on any particular day, week, over a period of time. But Google Search Console takes it a step further, and it shows you how you're actually ranking and shows you the performance of your site, the performance of certain pages on your site. It actually shows you if there are any errors within certain links and if you have to fix it, that sort of thing. So I think anything that Google puts out, yes, I know they are taking all of our information, but at least for now, they have some really fantastic and powerful tools.
Listen, and you see Google Search Console, Google Analytics, you guys need websites for these things. So all who do not have a website, you get 10 times more data than social media will ever give you in those two tools alone. Before we move on to our little quick exercise that I'm going to engage Ricolia in, some of the tools that I use and love. Listen to me. You see Grammarly? If you don't have Grammarly installed on your computer, what are we doing? If I didn't have Grammarly, you probably couldn't even read half the stuff that I write. Grammarly is one of my favorite tools. Yoast and Rank Math for optimizing my content on my website. That is how my stuff gets found on Google and properly indexed. Those two tools are great. Canva. Listen to me.
How could I forget Canva?
Listen to me. You see, Canva? Canva gets my money. I pay Canva first. I pay Canva first. Canva gets paid first. Another tool that I use a lot is a tool called Ezel. I hate saying it out loud because I'm like, if I say it, people are going to go and use it. But it's one of my favorite tools that I use to create content. Their templates and their tools for creating content is really, really good. And what else do I use? What else do I use on a daily basis? Go ahead.
Mentioned others that I use, and it's something that helps me to figure out if people are even searching for it. That is Uber Suggest and Google Trends.
Yes.
And
yes.
It's funny, and just if I really want to drive home the point in showing how there is such a gap in content creation. Google Trends allows you to essentially search for a term and search for a particular term within your country, and it allows you to see what the like how many people are actually searching for, like what types of searches people are doing for a particular topic.
Yes.
And a lot of the times, I will admit, when I am trying to do a search for a particular topic, I realize that those topics are not being searched for at all.
Correct.
Which is
crazy.
Kind of, it can be considered a bad thing because I guess for SEO purposes, it means that, your stuff may not get ranked if no one's searching for it. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, it means that there is such a huge opportunity for you to become the thought leader, the authority on said topic because no one else is talking about it. Listen. And, when people start searching, your stuff is one of the first things that goes to the top of the search results. And then obviously it makes it a lot difficult for other people to come in now and rank for that top spot. Exactly. So if you, again, no matter what industry you're in, and if it is you're trying to get your website off the ground and you want to add a blog element to it, I would suggest using Google Trends and start searching for certain terms and phrases and see. It actually even shows you a map of Trinidad and Tobago, and it shows you what region those people are searching for those that particular content. Topic.
Yeah. That's you. Go ahead.
For example, I recently did a post on the masks, where can you get stylish masks? And it doesn't necessarily have to be stylish, but what are people searching for when they're Googling masks in Trinidad and Tobago? And everyone was searching for it. Literally, the map of Trinidad and Tobago was completely covered in blue because it meant that everyone in every area and every region of Trinidad and Tobago was doing a Google search for masks. So that actually helped me to create a blog post on where you can get masks in Trinidad and Tobago because everyone is looking for masks in Trinidad and Tobago and they're looking beyond. Of course, we're not trying to promote constantly buying the N95s because that is for, frontline workers, but you can buy masks from, this select group of people. Of course, there are a multitude of others out there, but it's things like that that help you rank more for certain search terms. Correct. I actually have another post coming out soon that's supposed to speak to postpartum depression in Trinidad and Tobago, and it was the exact opposite. No one was searching for information on postpartum in Trinidad and Tobago, which means that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It just means that there's no content around it, which means that I have an opportunity now to fill that content gap.
And then you just have to do more work promoting it to get it out so people know that it's there to search for it.
Exactly.
So, Ricolia, there is an exercise that I want to do with you. And those who are tuning in are going to be in for a real treat, right? So this exercise that I'm going to be doing with Ricolia is I am going to throw out 6 niches, right? And Ricolia is going to give me 2 ideas per niche. And the ideas are going to be some topic that she might do, but then she's also going to tell us the medium. So she could say something like, you know what, I would do a podcast, and this would be what I would do the podcast on. This would be the angle I would do the podcast on. So I like to do this when I'm thinking about my own content. When I think about the medium, I think about the angle, I think about some topics, because you also have to keep in mind, not everything translates well across all the different mediums. People keep referring to the digital age as a podcast. I'm like, it's not. It's a web show. This would never be a podcast because it needs to be visual. I can't show people the behind the scenes or the live demos on an audio podcast. So it wouldn't be a good podcast. All right? So I'm gonna throw out 6 niches. Ricolia is gonna give me some ideas of what medium she would do it on. Ricolia, you ready?
I think so.
All right, let's do this. Listen, if you guys are still in the live audience tuning in, let me know that you guys are in here. Drop the 100s, drop the fireworks. Let us know if we're going good. Let us know if you are ready for this exercise, and let's see if we can get our creative juices going, all right? All right, let's do this. Ricolia, I'm gonna give you a real easy one, all right? Let us brainstorm on the topic of food. What content would you create for food, and what medium would you create for food? What medium would you create it on?
Content. So one would probably be, since everyone is trying to eat a bit cleaner these days, now that we're home most of the time, I would probably suggest doing 10 easy recipes to try this week that you can do for, like, let's say $100, something like that. Or 5 market finds that you could add to your menu. 5 ways to add more vegetables into your diet over the next few days, over the next week. And that could probably be like a compilation of different recipes from local food bloggers or foodies. So it's also a good way to collate the information, curate the information, and also shed light on other content creators as well. So you're creating an ecosystem right there. If you want to do video, I would say doing a tutorial. Things that would get to me, because I love to eat, but I don't like to spend a lot of time in the kitchen. So what would appeal to me is a video showing how to do a particular recipe in under an hour. That would definitely, under 45 minutes, that would definitely hold my attention, So either or, written or video.
Love that. I would probably say one thing that so I'm always looking at problems. What are the problems in a specific space, right? And who are the people having a problem? So when I think of food, I would say, CEOs. A lot of CEOs, they are very, very busy. Time is limited. They're always on the go. Eating healthy is always a problem. So I would do, either a video on, 5 quick recipes that every CEO could do in under 15 minutes so that they can keep healthy. You could even look at things like, in Trinidad, we have a very high rate of diabetes. So I would probably do an ebook on 10 recipes, 10 easy to go recipes for diabetics, right? Think about your niche, think about your target audience, and go forth and solve a problem for that niche, and you will be the go-to expert. So
if you had links and the connections as well, if you were to pair with certain, entertainers in the industry as well, if you want to really if you have the budget, you could actually even take it a bit further. So let's say for certain soca artists, they're always fit. They have to, maintain a particular figure. They're always on the go and that sort of thing. This is what Nyla Blackman eats in a day, and this is how, she stays fit. Something like that. It's relatable. And
The
it's
context is
easily,
there.
yeah.
Love it. Listen, next one. All right. So I'm throwing this one because I know this guy is in the audience. Ricolia, the next topic is chocolate. What are we doing with chocolate?
5 chocolatiers you didn't know existed in Trinidad and Tobago, or 5 recipes you can create that you didn't know you can create using chocolate. 5 ways to implement 5 ways to implement more chocolate into your diet. That might not be a good one.
If it's dark chocolate, sure.
Or if you want, it's like to partner with a particular someone who like specializes in chocolate. You know, see how you can actually, let's say, make chocolate at home, or how you can create chocolate infused recipes at home, something along those lines. DIY is all the rage right now. Everyone is trying something at home because we have the time. So I would definitely throw in a DIY element into it.
Yes, I would definitely do that too. I think, anything where we could probably, if you could show me something where I could take like the raw cocoa and give me recipes that I could do at home with the raw cocoa, I am definitely there for it. I would even, if it is possible and we could grow cocoa at home, I would love to see content on how to nurture your cocoa plants or how to nurture your cocoa tree in your backyard, right? I'd love to see some of that kind of stuff.
For the, skincare enthusiasts, how you can, use a cocoa mask to, I guess, get cleaner skin or clearer skin. I'm not an expert on skincare, but I have seen chocolate masks being touted around. So, yeah.
Love it. Next topic, next niche. This is gonna get tricky. Well, let's see. Lawn care.
Sorry?
Lawn care.
Lawn care. 5 items in your home you didn't know you can use to maintain your lawn. Or 5 ways you can reduce, or this is how you can reduce your time in lawn care maintenance. So things like lawn care and like chores, people already don't like doing chores.
Yeah.
So if it's not something that you're into, you can find ways to, I guess, make it a lot more palatable or digestible, like I said. So, all right, well, I already know I have this huge lawn outside. I'm not going to pay a handyman to do it. I know I have to do it myself. So I would look to see, all right, well, how can I make this workload easier for me? If you are someone that actually likes that kind of stuff, then I would try to find, I don't know, if I was into lawn care, I would Google, what are some of the trending products in lawn care at that point in time.
Yes.
So then that could turn into a post on, these are the products that that everyone is using on their lawn for 2020 or for August, or these are the products you need to buy now, and like having that sort of, I guess, clickbaitable line without it being too clickbaity, of course, helps, because it immediately like, wait, this is what's trending, this is what everyone's using, I want it, what is it? And you want to click on.
Yes. I would have something like, the top 5 ways you could be lazy and still maintain an excellent lawn care.
That's what people don't want to do lawn care. Yeah.
Yeah. Another one I'd probably
lawn care.
Yes. Another one I'd probably do is how to maintain your lawn in the dry season.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a good.
We had somebody, Lynn. Lynn said, Ricolia likes numbers, and I want to quickly touch that before we move. She likes numbers. No, but you know why she's saying it? Because me and you are so accustomed to doing list content. Because list content is the #1 rated blogging type of content. If you want people to read your blogs, list content is the #1 type of blog content because it allows people to skim. We read 5 ways, we can go quickly, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then we can decide whether or not we want to read the rest of it. So
I think it's
again,
a psychological thing as well because again, the age that we're in, our attention is being pulled into so many different directions.
yeah,
So if I were to put out only articles, or if one were to put out only long form articles, not saying they don't do well, they do. I do long form
yeah,
features, so I'm not saying not to, but people's attention spans are not as strong, I guess, as it used to be before the digital age. So
yeah,
you have to find creative ways to lure people in and give them the content that they want and give it to them in a space of time when they have the attention. Because if
correct.
let's say we were to turn that same lawn care topic into a long form feature, no one is going to read it, or you have very
Yeah,
few
it'd
it.
be
And
real
then
lawn care
depending on the
enthusiasts.
day,
Yeah,
exactly. Depending on when you put it out as well, someone might see the headline and just keep on scrolling, depending on what platform it's being marketed on.
yeah,
So again, I'm not saying not to do long form. I think it's good to have a combination of everything, but I think it's also good to know what kind of numbered listicles you want to put out.
yeah.
So, for example, coming back to the I mentioned postpartum depression earlier as a topic that I was looking at. I wouldn't do a listicle on postpartum depression. That's not for that. That's not the type of medium I would use to talk about and discuss postpartum depression in Trinidad and Tobago. But I would quicker do that for a feature on, hey, well, there are a multitude of masks that are designers, offering masks. This is just a list of them. You just pick what you want and that sort of
Yeah.
thing. So it's always about giving the content, yes, but finding out and trying to figure out what is the best way to share and distribute this content to people and ensure that they stay on it from beginning to end.
And test. You could do one where it's five whatever, or you could do one where it's a question, right? So
Yeah.
test it out. Next topic. This one is near and dear to your heart. Tourism. What are some topics we could do on tourism, or what are some content we could do on tourism?
I would say I feel like I'm coming back to the listicles, but again, considering what where we are at. But I would do content around the areas that people, and not when I say people, I don't mean us as Trimbigonians, but on the outside, things that people are not familiar with. So we had this conversation the other day. I think again, we tend to assume that people know who we are and what we do. And I always say never estimate. So like when I'm around people generally, if I would have met someone, let's say once 5 years ago, I'm not gonna assume that they know and remember who I am. And I think we still have to take that approach with the kind of content that we're putting out. So we have a problem, with the Caribbean as a whole, where the world still sees us as, the place that you go to drink rum and sit on a coconut tree and hang out on the beach. And and then you have the other side where people think that Jamaica, and I'm not saying this as an offense to my Jamaican brothers and sisters, but Jamaica is the capital of the Caribbean. And the reason why people do that, the reason why people assume that is because the message that's being put out there, people are still struggling to understand nuance between all the Caribbean islands because there are many of them up the chain.
Right.
So it's important for people to start putting out content that showcases the destination. If you're talking about tourism, the destination in a way that you typically don't see. So, for example, by now everyone is very familiar with the correlation between Trinidad and Carnival.
Right.
That's a given.
Yeah, we beat that dead horse. We beat that dead horse.
But what else is there to Trinidad, that is distinct outside of Carnival? Because yes, everyone comes to Trinidad for Carnival, but what else outside of Trinidad, is or Tobago is like the pull factor outside of the beaches and Carnival, right, and all of the typical things that is being touted out there. So if you're within the tourism sphere, I would say, these are the things that you have to focus on. What are you offering that is unique to everyone else? Because I think a lot of people underestimate how competitive the space is. And especially now, people are a lot more, I mean, taking the fact that no one can travel at this point in time off the table,
Staycations.
but people are very cautious about how they're spending their money, knowing where they're going. So you need to ensure that you are top of mind for them. So this is where putting out content that ensures that the destination is as unique as possible comes in.
Beautiful, beautiful. Next niche, these are the last two. Next niche, photography. What content and what medium would you put out photography content on?
Wow, there's so much. Because something I've noticed with a lot of local photographers, both friends and just people that I follow and whose work I admire, they put out their work, which is great. I fall in love with it. I love it. I wish I could do what they do. But they don't put out how they do things.
Yes.
So a lot of the top photographers, videographers out there internationally, they showcase their work, but they also do content around this is my camera haul, my tech haul for the month. These are the things where I just got into. I like this new lens, but not as much as my old lens because yada yada yada.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't have to just go into the basic reviews, but also showing tips and techniques for, you have a particular style. No. So all these photographers that we know on the market, they all have a very distinct aesthetic and look and vibe and all of that. I'm not saying obviously you have to give out all of your secrets, but these things also solidify you as an authority in the industry because photographers is a very saturated field and industry in Trinidad and Tobago. So, what separates Ricolia, the photographer, from Karen, the photographer? Karen, the photographer, is putting out his tips and techniques and showing how he gets the fantastic, images that he's putting out, whereas I'm just putting up images. And these things help you, to secure, I don't say secure, but it puts you in front of, some movers and shakers, people who may want to utilize your services. You can get called up for speaking and, presentation conferences because you are considered an expert in your field because you do more than just snap your camera. It can secure more jobs. It can secure bigger jobs, bigger projects. You can get, it could lead to potential for essentially anything. So if there are photographers who are watching this right now, I would say, even me personally, I would like to see tips and techniques from photographers and videographers. And I would also like to see photographers and videographers with a website because a lot of them do not have websites. And it's not the Instagram feeds are really cute. It's very engaging. I love it. I love stories. But people need to see beyond social. That should drive traffic back to your home, which is your website.
I think every single videographer and photographer is leaving all the money in the world on the table because none of y'all have online courses. None of y'all have an online school. If you are trying to get a gig, if that is your only form of income, you are going to be broke. You are going to go broke. Because especially if you are somebody that is relying on events to happen, whether it's a christening, whether it's a wedding, if you are relying on events to happen to make your money, you are going to go broke. So you need to start building that brand, building the online school, and moving towards other additional products.
I'll give you a quick example. I actually, a few years ago when I went to cover an event, I just decided to walk with my personal camera. I'm not a photographer, but I like to pretend I'm one when I have a Canon in my hand.
Yeah.
And I just took a few snaps and someone walked up to me and tried to engage me in conversation asking, hey, so can you tell me about that camera and what kind of techniques do you use? Because I actually want to get into photography and I want to learn how. Obviously I couldn't, divert that poor child in the wrong direction, because I'm not a photographer, but I'm saying opportunities like that, you just never know, you know,
Right.
and you have to create the opportunities. Just because nobody else is doing it locally doesn't necessarily mean that
It can be
it's
done.
not going to. It just means that no one else is doing it and you have the edge on everyone else. And you're providing something that no one else is providing, which means that people are going to think that your product is at a premium.
Correct. Correct. All right. So, Ricolia, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break and we're going to wrap up this session with the Q&A. So, everybody, you're still tuned in, you're still logged in. Thank you. You've hit the hour and a half mark. This is beautiful. If you have questions about creating content in the digital age, we have questions for Ricolia. Drop your questions now. We're going to take a quick break to thank the sponsors. We're going to come back and we're going to get to your questions from social media and the questions in the live audience. Stick around, drop your questions in. We'll be right back.
Stay connected and entertained with broadband bundles designed for you. With Flow starter and advanced plans, you can enjoy faster speeds to stream more of what you love. Get free access to the best shows, series, and movies with HBO Go, and connectivity on the go with free Flow Wi-Fi. Packages start from as low as $295 and no contract required. Visit discoverflow.co to sign up today. Flow, keeping you connected.
Sharing your goals, helping you find your place in the world. Eastern gratitude, holding your hand, leading the way, here for your needs, making sure that you succeed. Eastern's lending a hand, Eastern together, we're leading the way. Eastern Credit Union, leading the way.
All right, and we are back. So, again, if you guys have your questions, drop your questions in now. If you guys like where the conversation is going, let us know in the comments. Drop your fireworks, drop your 100s. Let us know that you are enjoying the episode so far. All right? So, it is the last segment of tonight's episode, and this is the Q&A segment. So, let's get right into it. So I'm going to take 2 questions from social media. Give you guys in the live audience a bit of time to drop your questions in. So don't be shy. Drop those questions in and let's get to answering your questions on content creation. So the first question. This question is brought to us by Buzz Media. Ricolia, is it really that important to have a website to create content, or can we get away with just having social media?
You can, but I mean, you can as long as your social is up and running. But at the same time, why would you not want to give yourself the best opportunity to legitimize your business and not have your business open to potential future business, if that makes sense? So if you are a business and a growing business at that, I would not advise keeping everything on social media. It's actually not, I wouldn't say it's not professional, but at the same time, you have limitations to what you can do on social media. Social media is really meant to promote and market and, you know, speak to a target audience, but it's
social.
not exactly the social aspect of it. But you can't do bookings, you can't purchase on Instagram, you can't purchase on Facebook. Ultimately, you're sort of like shooting yourself in your foot. The potential for opportunity, you are intentionally limiting yourself, in my opinion.
Correct. With the e-commerce tools in the Caribbean, we don't have the full versions of social media. So our market does not have the e-commerce tools, whereas Facebook, Instagram, if you are in like the US market, you actually have the e-commerce tools built in right on the site where they can process transactions for you right on Facebook. We don't have that. All of the platforms force us to link to a third-party site, which is your website. So if you want to turn traffic from social media into actual sales, it has to be funneled to your website so that you can close the deal on your website.
And just to even give you even more context, at the end of the day, social media is what traditional media used to do. So back in the day, well, people still do it. Let me not say it like that. But where the radio ads and the billboards and all that was the main, and the newspaper ads was like the main way to get your business out there. It was essentially a tool to drive traffic to your business. So if you are just out there on Instagram only, what are you driving traffic to?
Correct. Love it. Love it. Question number 2, and this question is brought to us by the good folks over at Eastern Credit Union. Ricolia, what do you feel like is the most impactful type of content?
In Trinidad and Tobago, I would say relatable content, easily digestible content, and something that people can see can solve a problem and create a solution for them.
Right.
So that could actually span into, coming back to what we did before, whether it's blog, video, whatever the case may be. But when it comes to content marketing, you are trying to connect with human beings at the end of the day. So whatever you're trying to sell, whether it's a service, a product, or whatever, you are trying to appeal to someone's pain points. So you have to create content around that to show them that, yes, we understand this is what the problem is, but, based on this particular feature, this particular video, this particular, even if it is a social media post that drives traffic back to your website, it's showing people process. So in their mind, they're like, oh, okay, yes, I had an issue with X, Y, and Z. Eastern Credit Union is based on the kind of content they're putting out. It feels as if they're speaking to me, and I feel as if I were to contact them, they could help me solve a problem. That's what you have to do. You can't do just, we have this particular product, it's $9.95, buy it.
Yes,
we
correct.
Can't do that.
Correct.
Those days are gone.
Correct. So guys, keep dropping your questions in. We have one more question from social media. You guys in the live audience, drop your questions in so we can get to them. And what I would say to this question too is, content that solves a problem will always will last the longest, because the entertaining content, that's good for the high, but eventually you forget about it. And unless you're coming out with Eddie Murphy raw type level of entertainment, we ain't gonna remember it, right? So content that solves a problem for people lasts longest, and what people are going to be Googling all the time. So whatever your niche is, if you create content that answers questions, answers people's problems, you will always be able to impact people on a very deeper level.
And people like feeling that they're part of a community as well.
Yes.
So creating something and using certain words and simple words like, be a part of the tribe, and we're creating a space for, and that sort of thing. People who have certain affinities or certain interests and certain likes, they feel as if they're part of something, and that is very important for connecting with an audience.
Yes, I love that as well. I love that. The last question from social media, and again, you guys drop your questions in the live audience. Okay, so tourism. All right, so as a hotel owner, what type of content would you like coming from us, the stakeholders? If you are a hotel owner, what type of content should a hotel owner create?
Right now, what you are doing to ensure that your hotel is safe, a safe space for your guests. That is what people think about right now. So yeah, the deals are great. The deals are fine. Deals are great. Everyone loves a deal, but you have to speak to the current climate, and you have to do it authentically and genuinely. Right. So right now, the talk of the day is social distancing, staying safe and all of that. So you have to create a message around that says to people, I see you, I hear your concerns, and this is what we're doing to help solve that.
So I can't promote Carnival 2021 and tell you, book your places from now. Just don't do that.
No, because at the end of the day, it's something I think this period has also shown us is that COVID really sort of had to humble everyone in terms of understanding that this is such a fluid period in our lives, and things are changing so rapidly. And again, coming back to adaptability, you have to be able to be in a position to, even if let's say you have particular plans for this month, that month, or whatever the case may be, you have to be in a position to have plan A, B, C, and D to say, all right, well, things may be better by this time, but if it isn't, we have something in place by then instead of just scrambling to come up with something at the last minute, or worse yet, just going radio silent.
Correct. Agreed.
Because that one shows that you really, yes, it shows, yes, I'm not sure like of what's happening, but it also says that you don't have anything of value to tell you people. Even if even if it's saying, you know, even if it's just like messages of, you know, hope and goodwill and all of that in between, and letting people know, you know, that your customers, that, you know, you're in our thoughts and we can't wait to see you again, and keep safe and wear a mask and all of that. You know, this period is one where, yes, you're a business, but you are also talking to human beings, and you need to connect with them and let people need to see that you're not there only for their dollars and cents.
Right.
That are a valuable part of their of your business and your world, and you care for them beyond just what the immediate money that you can give them.
Gotcha. Love it. All right, so we're going to the live audience now. We're going to take questions. So the first question comes in from Terrell George. Good night, brother. All right, so Terrell asks, for persons creating a website for the first time, do you recommend building a website from quote unquote scratch, or using platforms like Squarespace or WordPress?
I would say WordPress if you are starting off for the first time, unless you have, you know, a web developer friend who's, you know, willing to hook you up for free. I would say go through WordPress. I think WordPress, you have a lot of different website tools and templates. So you have WordPress, Squarespace, Wix, and a few others. But the great thing with WordPress, and I'll always tout it, is that it's not only easy to set up, but it's kind of like, you know, there's that phrase, there's an app for that. With WordPress, there's literally a plugin for every single thing that you want to do. So they have created WordPress has created things in such a way where you don't have to be a techie to get your website off the ground. You don't have to spend bundles of money. You know, even if you are a small business, you can create a very basic page and build from there. And that's another thing I'd always advise people. You don't have to start at 100. You know,
Correct.
Working on Ricolia.com has shown me that, you know, the quality of the content is what matters. So even if you start with a very basic site, you let people know this is what you're doing. At the end of the day, you're solving a problem for them. So all the frills and all of the cute, you know,
that can come later.
Yeah, all of the, you know, cute colors and all that can come after, you know. And the thing is, you are building an audience who will stay with you from beginning to end. So if you want to just get, you know, someone to just come in with your big fancy website that you know, spend 20 grand on, and the quality of your product isn't great, they're not going to come back, and you're not going to see that return on investment for that website. But if it is, you're putting in the work and you're putting out a quality product or service, and you're building community around that as well, you have a loyal following who will follow you from your little rinky-dink website that you built yourself to when you migrated to the bigger site that has all the snazzy bells and whistles. They will follow you because you are good at what you do and they trust you.
Correct. I will say two things on WordPress. WordPress, of all of the different platforms used to build websites, WordPress of every single platform owns the largest market share, where WordPress is used 38% of all websites made today. 38% of them is made by WordPress. That is the largest chunk of any platform. And that's because it is an open source platform where, you know, there's a lot of things that it allows you to do that other platforms cannot. The other thing is the reason why I talk about WordPress and why I use WordPress is in the Caribbean, all of the payment platforms work on WordPress. Every other platform, you either cannot use a particular processor, or if you're using PayPal, there's headaches with PayPal, especially depending on the Caribbean country you are in. It's not a straightforward process to receive your money. You need to be thinking payments first, especially when you're selling, and let that guide you on what platform that you use. But WordPress is the most versatile because every Caribbean payment company has built systems specifically for WordPress.
If it is you want like further proof as to why WordPress is as great as it is and why it's touted as the go-to platform, the amount of major companies out there that utilize WordPress. You'd be surprised. So you have BBC, you have MTV. I'm just pulling up some stuff here. Your PlayStation, Disney uses it, Sony uses it. Of course, they have the budget to add on all of the additional bells and whistles, but it just goes to show the range of abilities that exist within WordPress. And if it is, Disney can use WordPress.
And who is we? Who is we? Next question comes in from Lynn. Lynn is asking, as you spoke about persons not having websites, do you have suggestions on where to start website creation? Well, I guess we just answered that right there. You can start with WordPress. I'll move on to our next question from Dominic Chapman. Dominic asks, what were the SEO tools that you used to find relevant content to produce? You could touch back on that.
So Yoast, I think you would have mentioned it, but Yoast is also a plugin in WordPress. And Yoast works in such a way where on the back end of the page, when you're creating the article, it actually tells you, it has like a bit of like a checklist if you want to use it as that tells you about your readability score, your SEO score, suggestions on sentence length. If you use a particular word for too long, if you've used a key phrase, let's say your key phrase is music in Trinidad and Tobago. So if that is your key phrase and you haven't used it in, let's say, the first paragraph or the first sentence, Yoast would tell you in the details at the bottom of the page, you haven't used this key phrase in your first sentence, because all these little things actually help to increase your SEO ranking. So it's a free tool, it's a free plugin in WordPress, but and there's a premium version, but it's a great way to see at a glance, like little things that you can do to improve the SEO readability and the SEO score of a particular post that you're about to put out. And I would also say, reading up, like there are a multitude of experts out there who give you day-to-day, week-on-week tips and techniques on how to improve your SEO skills and what's trending in SEO and all of that. So someone like Neil Patel definitely is someone, if you want to get into SEO. He actually currently, I don't know if it's still going on right now, he created a YouTube channel, but he created a playlist that gives you more insight from beginning to end, everything you need to know about SEO. Yes. So that's definitely a resource that I would say you can start off with. He also, in addition to his blog that tells you everything about SEO that there is, he also created a platform called Ubersuggest, which allows you to get an idea of what is trending. If you're looking for a particular search term, see how that is trending in your area or region or whatever the case is, and essentially have an idea of like what your competitors are doing as well, and you could kind of like poach what they're doing to improve your SEO score on your posts.
Yeah, and you could use Yoast. Yoast has a very great blog about SEO. Yoast, I read their content all the time, Neil Patel's content. Like she said, Ubersuggest is great to find content. Google Trends is another tool really you could really use to find content to write about within your specific space. So once you find the content and then you create the content, you would use a tool like Yoast to optimize the content to be found on the platforms. All right?
Yep.
So we have come to the end of tonight's program. Tonight was a long one. And you know what, Ricolia? We knew this was going to go We knew
Knew
it.
it. I don't know why you like to people and say it's gonna be an hour. Come on.
we try. But when the conversation gets going, it goes in so many directions, and then the replay value for people are, I've got a lot of messages about people, being able to come back, scrub back to parts that they've missed. So, the content is there for you guys to consume and level up your game. And let me know, again, if you guys are still here with us at the 2-hour mark, let me know in the comments how you guys enjoyed tonight's episode. Give me the fireworks. Give me the fire. Let us know that you guys enjoyed tonight's content. And Ricolia, I want to thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedule to talk to us about, a topic that we enjoy so much. We always shoot the breeze on content creation, so I'm very grateful that you came out and talked to the audience tonight.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to another one like this, if the people want it.
For sure. Do you have any closing remarks for the audience tonight?
I would just say, given the time, now more than ever is the time to put your stuff out there. Now is the time to go beyond social media. Now is the time to delve into creating. I know content is such a general phrase, but creating content that directly speaks to us as Trimbagonians, as well as creating content that speaks directly to people's pain points and creating that human connection with people. We have so many tools and platforms out there that would help with that. So it's up to you guys now just to take it and run with it. We are in the prime time to do it. And the Caribbean generally is trending. People are looking to us a lot more now. We just have to give it to them. So do it.
Thank you very much, Ricolia. Ricolia, you stay right there. What I need to say to the good folks at the digital age, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to another episode. Listen, it has been 10 weeks already. It has been 10 weeks. Where on earth has the time gone? Next week is the final episode of season 1. How? We started planning this out in February, March. We are now rolling into September, and it is the final episode. The time is just, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. But I want to thank all of you guys. I'm seeing a lot of faces who have tuned in every single week. And I'm seeing a lot of you who have watched the replays. And you guys are finally catching the episode live. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Next week, the final episode, we're actually going to be speaking with Flo, right? And we're going to be talking about digital transformation. We're going to be talking about some of the tools and services that Flo has to support businesses and entrepreneurs. We're going to be speaking to the Cable and Wireless Business Solutions Division. So they have a lot of tools and solutions available for us to take advantage of to build our businesses. And we're going to be speaking to the country manager and the head of product development over at Cable and Wireless. And it's going to be another very interesting episode because, again, these are going to be things that we can use within our businesses. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I am going to see you guys next week. Give yourself a big round of applause. Listen, I thank all of you for joining us and lasting the 2-hour mark, all right? So next week, Thursday, 8 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time, our final episode, the season finale, and I will catch you guys next week. Okay, bye!